Hello there, Minos here, and today we're going to see some of the most interesting facts about the ancient city of Rome. The city that had a fire brigade, a whole stadium featuring naval battles, a lot of bureaucracy and skyscrapers. Let's find out. Rome was the first city in the world that recorded a population of 1 million people. The first census came in 2nd century BCE, and this mass of 1 million people came from 3 different continents: Europe, Asia and Africa. The second city in Europe that recorded a population that high was the Victorian London in the 19th century. And did you know back then it was 32 times more densely populated than modern Rome? But make no mistake, this was because of the smaller houses people had those days. There were over 200 amphitheaters in ancient Rome, but the largest was the Colosseum, built over 2000 years ago. It took over 8 years to construct, originally called the Flavian Amphitheater. This monument got its nickname long after its use, at the 7th century CE, and in its prime held up to 85,000 bloodthirsty spectators, only 4,000 shy of Wembley. The Cloaca Maxima is the first complex system in the world. The origins of the Cloaca Maxima go all the way back to the 6th century. However, it wasn't very complex in the beginning. It was an outdoor ditch, which helped drain the forum when it was flooding. Over time it was rebuilt and scaled up until it provided sewage most of the ancient city. Not to the residential houses though, for things like the Emperor's Palace, bathhouses and the public lavatories. Rome is the only city in the world that has another country inside it. South Africa is no stranger to these things, as it enclaves a whole country called Lesotho, and Italy has San Marino inside. But Rome is the only city in the world to do the same thing. The Vatican is the smallest independent state in the world. Nestled right in the heart of Rome, it is governed by the Pope and has a population of just over 800. It also has its own army, its own currency and its own post office. Italy is an extremely new country. Despite Rome's millennia-long history, Italy was only founded in 1871, when the Italian army took Rome back from the Pope. Italy's first king was Vittorio Emanuele II. Before this, the peninsula was made up of city-states governed by the Pope, Spain, France and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. After Italy's unification, this gigantic monument to Vittorio Emanuele II was erected in the center of Rome, called the Altar of the Fatherland. Rome had the first legal system, known as the 12 Tables, were first written down in the 5th century BCE. By the 3rd century BCE, there were many written laws. The Romans can be called the fathers of bureaucracy, as many of those who live in the modern city of Rome can confirm. Ancient Rome was home to the largest stadium ever built to this day. And it is in the Colosseum. The Romans were obsessed with entertainment.
Are you not entertained?
And the most popular was chariot racing. The Circus Maximus was the chariot racing track in Rome, dating back to the 6th century BCE, far larger than the Colosseum and open to a wider section of the population, including women. By the 2nd century CE, it is estimated that Circus Maximus could hold 250,000 people on race day. This is a quarter of the population of Rome in one place at one time. Rome was a patriarchal society. In fact, women weren't even considered citizens. They were treated like second-class citizens. They couldn't attend political assemblies or vote and were under the control of their fathers or their husbands. However, thanks to Roman law, in some ways, women were more emancipated than in some cultures today. They could own their own property, inherit money, and divorce. Julius Caesar was never an emperor. He was a powerful general who would eventually rule as a dictator, in other words, an emergency leader in times of war. However, he was perhaps the first Roman to have almost sole control of the empire. After his death, he was deified. His name thereafter would become synonymous with the title of emperor, which was later used by many successors. July got its name from Julius Caesar. As an homage to the creation of the Julian calendar used for 1600 years, July got its name from Caesar after his death. The month was originally named Quintilis. Famous disk burner software Nero got its name from Nero, a Roman lunatic who was responsible for the Great Fire of Rome 1957 years ago. The Appian Way was the first paved highway in Europe. Constructed in 312 BCE, connected Rome and Capua with 189 kilometers of road. It was later expanded down to the southernmost parts of modern Italy. It was designated to facilitate the movement of people and goods, originally used by government officials and troops. By the time of Augustus in the 1st century CE, a vast road network spread through the Roman Empire to North Africa. Having a luxury tomb became a fashion symbol in ancient Rome. Rather a type of fashion today, but by the 1st century, tombs were started to be built. The Romans spent a fortune on their mausoleums and tombs which were placed on the side of main roads. Why? They wanted to be remembered, and so their tombs were ground to show off their status and tell their story to the people that passed by, like me now. Some of the most notable mausoleums is that of Cecilia Metella on the Appian Way, the Pyramid of Gaius Cestius on Via Ostiense, or even grander, the castle built as mausoleum for the Emperor Augustus. Today, the modern city of Rome still supplies water for free to the public. There are over 2,000 fountains in Europe, grand, elegant ones like the Trevi Fountain, to small drinking fountains known as the Nasone. The Nasone, which literally means the nose, are drinking fountains that resemble the nose actually, and have a small pipe which flows drinking water. They are dotted around the city, and there is even an app to find the nearest water supply. Ancient Rome was full of skyscrapers, but do not think of the modern skyscrapers of 50 or 80 floors high. We often think also that Rome was full of monumental temples and elaborate villas, but most of the population lived in ancient apartment blocks, high up to 7 floors. The Romans had hundreds of gods. The ancient Romans were polytheistic, which basically means they worshipped multiple gods, due to the multicultural status. They went as far as adopting gods from other cultures, like the Greek and Egyptian gods, and often renamed them. Mars, for example, was the Roman god of war. Jupiter was the king of the gods. Isis, for example, was an Egyptian goddess whose worship spread throughout the Roman world, and other gods like Mithra from Persia, protector of truth, was changed in Rome as the protector of Roman soldiers. Roman slaves were protected by law and could actually buy their freedom. Unlike most recent forms of slavery, Roman slaves were paid a small amount of money, given board and lodgings. Over time, if they could save enough money, they could buy their freedom. Many slaves were granted freedom by their masters for services well done. Freed slaves often went on to become successful businessmen with the help of their masters, a virtuous side on an otherwise cruel thing. All roads lead to Rome. Romans almost invented the road network. Roads had been in use by other civilizations going back to the Bronze Age, but they weren't paved. Roman roads were 10 feet deep or 3 meters and layered with stone, sand, gravel and topped with volcanic rock. They were extremely resistant and dead straight. Many of the modern highways throughout Europe today are built on top of Roman roads. They had underfloor heating. It wasn't quite central heating as we know it today, but it was based on the same idea. Hot air was heated by a furnace and distributed underneath the floor by terracotta pipes. It was called a hypocaust system, and the same principle was also used for the baths. On the Palatine Hill in Domitian's palace, pieces of the hypocaust can be still seen underneath a colored marble floor. Not all Romans were born in Rome. That's right, you could be a Roman citizen and never go to Rome. Thanks to the empire, there was a constant influx of people from the outside world to Rome. So, if you adopted the Roman virtues and traditions, and of course ran through all the legal processes, it was possible for you to become a Roman citizen yourself. The ancient Rome wasn't as white as we imagine. In fact, it was quite colorful. Columns and statues in Rome were brightly colored. Today, when we visit museums, all we see is white marble because the paint was washed off over the centuries. The Romans made colors using organic materials, such as plants and minerals. The trade routes from the east brought exciting new colors. Blue was one of the most sought, after even up to the 1500s, and it came from lapis lazuli, a deep blue metamorphic rock from Egypt and Afghanistan. Purple was extremely rare and expensive, and could only be worn by those of high status. The Pantheon is the most unique Roman building that survives. It is the only one of its kind in the world. It is famous for its enormous, unsupported concrete dome with a huge hole in the middle. What is not known though is that Pantheon was a nickname for the building, deriving from the Greek words pan, which means all, and theos, which means God. We have absolutely no idea what its original name was. Many people say that it was a temple to all the gods, referring to statues of the gods that were displayed inside. But there is no other temple to all the gods in the Roman world. The Romans wore togas to show their status. Despite what you might think, togas were worn by everyone, but not daily. Togas were a status symbol, showing your rank in Roman society. If you were senior, you could wear a purple stripe on your toga. The width of the stripe depended on how important you were. Only the emperor could wear a purple toga. Rome has the largest number of catacombs in the world. These underground tunnels, dug by the first Christians, were to bury their dead. There are more than 60 catacomb complexes that we know of at least, stretching over 400 kilometers under the suburbs. If we line them up end to end in a straight line, we would start a tunnel from Paris and end up to Amsterdam. Underground. They are longer than the entire New York City subway system. The city of Rome has more obelisks than the whole of Egypt. After Cleopatra and her lover, the Roman general Antony, were defeated, Egypt became Roman territory. The obelisks were a symbol of power for the Egyptian pharaohs. They resembled a ray of sun from the sun god Ra. They were brought to Rome by the emperors to decorate the city in their stadiums. There were stolen 53 obelisks, but many of them are lost now, buried under the modern city. Although still, today, 13 obelisks, large and small, decorate the city. If you made it this far to this video, congratulations, because you reached the end. Let us know down in the comments which of these facts surprised you the most, or what did we miss. For the newcomers of How and Why, subscribe to my channel for more weekly videos. See you next time!